You're listening to Vampire's Feast by Celeste King.
Part of the romantasy TV collection within the Worlds of Protheka. This story takes place on Valoris, a city on the continent of Rage.
Valoris is ruled by a corrupt council, and it has a sizable Vrekin presence.
These vampires live in the shadows, amassing power.
The Worlds of Protheka is a vast and interconnected set of series taking place on worlds ruled by magic, monsters,
And love.
and Romantasy TV aims to bring you bite-sized full romance stories that you can enjoy in one sitting. And if you ever want to get the full and unabridged book with all the spicy scenes, head to worldsofprotheka.com. Use promo code YouTube30 to take 30% off this audiobook and all other audiobooks, bundles, and ebooks.
And now let's head into our story.
You're listening to Vampire's Feast by Celeste King.
Chapter 1. Alara. Maybe today will be the day. I sigh, my voice barely audible over the cacophony of Valoris's market. The scent of roasting meat and exotic spices wafts through the air, making my stomach growl. But I know better than to reach for a morsel. My station in life doesn't allow for such luxuries. I'm just another slave, a piece of property to be bought and sold at my master's whim. I trudge through the crowded streets, my head down, trying to avoid eye contact with the merchants and their customers. The last thing I need is to draw attention to myself. But fate has other plans. As I round a corner, I collide with a hard, muscular chest. I look up and find myself staring into the piercing blue eyes of a man who could only be described as otherworldly. His dark hair falls in loose waves around his chiselled features, and his lips curl into a smirk as he takes in my dishevelled appearance. "Watch where you're going, slave," he growls, his voice deep and commanding. I shrink back, my heart pounding in my chest. I've never seen this man before, but I know his type. He's one of the nobles, the ruling class who hold all the power in Valoris, and I'm just a lowly slave, unworthy of his notice. But as I turn to leave, he grabs my arm, his grip like iron. "Not so fast," he says, his eyes raking over me. "I think I'll keep you." I try to pull away, but his grip only tightens. "Please," I whisper, my voice trembling. "I'm not for sale." He laughs, a cruel sound that sends shivers down my spine. "Everything is for sale, slave, especially you." I feel a surge of anger, hot and fierce. I may be a slave, but I'm not a piece of meat to be bought and sold. I open my mouth to protest, but before I can say a word, I feel a strange sensation in my finger. It's the ring, the one I found hidden in the dirt a few days ago. I'd almost forgotten about it, but now it seems to pulse with a power I can't quite understand. Without thinking, I raise my hand and point the ring at the noble. "Let me go," I say, my voice steady and strong. To my surprise, he releases me, his eyes widening in shock. What was that?" he stammers. "I don't know, but I'm not about to let him find out." I turn and run, my heart pounding as I weave through the crowded streets. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay here, not with the ring's power coursing through my veins. As I run, I hear the noble's voice echoing in my head. "Everything is for sale, slave, especially you." But I know now that's not true. I may be a slave, but I'm not a commodity, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove it. The sounds of Valoris fade into the distance as I run, my breath coming in ragged gasps. But I don't care. For the first time in my life, I feel free, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away from me. A few hours later, I wake up with a start, my heart racing. The events of yesterday flood back to me, the ring, the power, the dark elf noble. I glance at the loose floorboard where I hid the precious object last night. It's still there, safe and sound. Rubbing the sleep from my eyes, I drag myself out of bed. The rickety wooden floor creaks beneath my feet as I make my way to our tiny kitchen. My 3 little brothers are already up, their hungry eyes following my every move. "Breakfast time," I announce, forcing a smile. I whip up a meagre meal of stale bread and watery porridge. It's not much, but it's all we have. As the boys wolf down their food, I can't help but think about the ring. Could it be our ticket out of this hellhole? I'm heading out for a bit, I tell them. Stay inside and don't open the door for anyone. They nod, mouths too full to speak. I ruffle their hair before slipping out into the grimy streets of the slum. The morning air is thick with the stench of sewage and desperation. I make my way down the narrow alley, dodging piles of trash and avoiding eye contact with the other unfortunates who call this place home. Luna's shack stands at the end of the street, a dilapidated structure that looks like it might collapse at any moment. I take a deep breath and knock on the door. "Who's there?" a raspy voice calls out. "It's Alara," I reply. "I need to talk to you about yesterday." The door creaks open, revealing Luna's weathered face. Her eyes, once sharp and piercing, now look clouded and distant, but there's still a glimmer of something there. Knowledge, power, maybe even fear. "Come in, child," she says, stepping aside. I enter the dimly lit room, my nose wrinkling at the smell of herbs and incense. Luna shuffles to a rickety chair and sits down, gesturing for me to do the same. "You've come about the ring," she states. It's not a question. I nod, leaning in close. "I need to know what it is, what it can do. Last night I felt something, a power I've never experienced before." Luna's expression darkens. "Power comes at a price, girl. Are you sure you want to know?" I lean forward, my heart pounding. Yes, I need to know. This could be our chance to escape this life. Luna sighs, her wrinkled hands trembling as she reaches for a cup of tea. "That ring, child, is no ordinary trinket. It's an artifact of immense power, created by the ancient Purna mages. Legend says it can grant the wearer abilities beyond imagination." My eyes widen. "What kind of abilities?" "Control over the elements, enhanced strength, even the power to bend reality itself," Luna whispers, her voice barely audible. "But such power comes at a terrible cost. It corrupts, consumes, destroys. Many have sought it, and many have been driven mad by its influence." I swallow hard, my throat suddenly dry. "How did it end up in the trash?" Luna shakes her head. "That, I cannot say. Perhaps its previous owner realised the danger and tried to dispose of it. Or maybe it was stolen and lost. The ring has a way of finding its way to those who seek power." "What should I do with it?" I ask, my voice trembling. "Sell it," Luna says firmly. "My contacts would pay a fortune for such an artifact. Enough for you and your brothers to start a new life far from here." I nod slowly, considering her words. The thought of escaping this wretched place is tempting, but something holds me back. I need time to think about it." Luna's eyes narrow. "Don't wait too long, child. The longer you possess that ring, the greater the danger. There are those who would kill for such power." I stand up, my mind reeling. "Thank you, Luna. I'll come back this evening with my decision." As I step out of Luna's shack, the weight of the ring seems to grow heavier in my pocket. The promise of freedom and power battles with the fear of corruption and danger. I make my way back home, lost in thought, unaware of the shadows that seem to follow my every move.
Chapter 2. Marcus. The thirst gnaws at me as my eyes flutter open. "I am hungry," I murmur, licking my dry lips. The need for blood is great, an insistent ache in my gut that won't be ignored. I throw off the covers, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. My bare feet hit the cold stone floor, sending a shiver up my spine. Grabbing a robe, I hastily throw it on and head for the door, the hunger driving me forward. The castle halls are silent, save for the occasional scurrying of rats in the walls. Smart enough to avoid me when the bloodlust takes hold. I make my way down the winding staircase, the torches casting dancing shadows that seem to mock my ravenous state. In the depths of the castle lies the holding cells where my meals are kept. The putrid stench of unwashed bodies and despair hangs thick in the air as I approach. A couple of human men eye me warily through the bars of their cells. I bare my fangs at them, causing them to recoil in fear. Such easy prey. But I want more of a challenge tonight. My gaze falls upon the forms huddled in the darkest corner cell. Frackin' warriors. Their life forces burn so much brighter than the dull sparks of humans. One of them looks up, meeting my eyes without flinching. Despite being captured, his pride remains unbroken. Yes, he will make a fine meal. I crook a finger at the jailer. Open the cell. I require sustenance. The jailer's hands tremble as he unlocks the door. He knows better than to defy me. I can smell the defiance rolling off him in waves. He tenses, coiled like a serpent about to strike. Perfect. But before I can strike, something stops me. No, it cannot be. Not after all these years of searching. The ring of the deceiver. I drop everything and begin making my way. The hunger fades to a dull ache, overshadowed by this impossible discovery. My feet carry me swiftly through the winding corridors, past startled guards and cowering servants. The ring was created before even I was made. The power it wields is enough that I can sense it. Its pull is unmistakable, a siren song of dark magic that calls to the very essence of my being. Where has it been all this time? I burst out of the castle gates, not bothering with the sun glamour. Pain sears my skin, but I ignore it. The ring's presence drowns out all else. My wings unfurl and I take to the sky, following the pulsing beacon of power. I come to the slums where the human slaves and workers are kept. The stench of unwashed bodies and despair assaults my senses, but I pay it no mind. My eyes scan the decrepit buildings, searching for the source of that tantalizing power. But there is no one, except for an old woman. She stands in the doorway of a ramshackle hut, her rheumy eyes fixed on me with an unsettling intensity. "You seek the ring," she croaks, her voice like gravel. "I seek the ring," I growl, my patience wearing thin. The old crone's eyes narrow, a defiant glint sparking in their depths. "You will not have it," she hisses, backing away. Rage boils within me. How dare this pathetic human defy me? In a flash, I'm upon her. My fangs sink into her wrinkled neck, tearing through paper-thin skin. Her blood floods my mouth, bitter and thin. I drain her dry in seconds, letting her lifeless body crumple to the ground. A gasp cuts through the air. I whirl around, my senses on high alert. "What are you doing?" a soft voice asks, trembling with fear. I turn to see the source of the interruption. My breath catches in my throat. A human woman stands before me, her eyes wide with horror. But oh, she's so pretty. Delicate features, smooth skin, and eyes that shine like stars. For a moment I forget about the ring, captivated by her beauty. "What is your name?" I ask, my voice low and husky. She hesitates, her gaze darting between me and the old woman's corpse. "Alara," she finally whispers. As she speaks, something catches my eye. A glint of metal on her finger. My heart races as realization dawns. She has the ring. The ring. It's there on her finger. My hunger fades, replaced by an all-consuming need to possess that ancient artifact. "Alara," I purr, stepping closer. She flinches but doesn't run. Smart girl. "That's a lovely ring you have there." Her hand flies to her chest, clutching the ring protectively. "It's nothing special." "Oh, but it is." I close the distance between us, my eyes locked on hers. "Do you know what you possess?" Alara swallows hard. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me, little one." I reach out, trailing a finger along her jaw. She trembles beneath my touch. "I can smell your fear. Your curiosity. You know this ring is powerful. Please, she whispers. I just found it. I don't want any trouble. I chuckle darkly. Trouble has already found you, my dear. But perhaps we can come to an arrangement. Her eyes narrow suspiciously. What kind of arrangement? Give me the ring, I say, holding out my hand, and I'll ensure you're well taken care of. No more slums, no more scraping by. You'll want for nothing. Alara hesitates, her gaze flicking between my outstretched hand and the old woman's corpse. And if I refuse, my fangs gleam in the dim light, then I take it by force. Your choice. She takes a shaky breath, her fingers twisting the ring. I need time to think. Time is a luxury you don't have, I growl, my patience wearing thin. Decide now. Alara's eyes harden, a spark of defiance igniting within them. No, I won't give it to you. Before I can react, she bolts, darting between the ramshackle buildings with surprising agility. I snarl in frustration, spreading my wings to give chase. The hunt is on.
Chapter 3. Alara. My feet pound the cobblestones, heart racing as I flee through the winding streets of Valoris. The creature's fangs flash in my mind, sending shivers down my spine. I've heard tales of fantastic beasts roaming Protheka, Naga orcs, but I've only ever seen dark elves and humans. I pause, gasping for air. Silence. Then a whoosh of air rushes past me, and suddenly, strong arms seize me from behind. I gasp, my heart pounding frantically in my chest as I'm pulled against a solid, muscular body. The creature's breath is hot on my neck, sending shivers down my spine. What are you? I choke out, my voice trembling with fear and a strange, unexpected excitement. My fingers dig into the powerful forearms wrapped around my waist, torn between pushing them away and holding on for dear life. I am a Vraken. My blood runs cold. Vrakens are myths, bedtime stories to scare children. You will give me the ring, he growls, his voice low and menacing. Fine, take it. I thrust out my hand, my heart pounding in my chest. I want nothing more than to be rid of this cursed object. But the ring won't budge. It clings to my finger like it's fused to my skin, refusing to slip off no matter how hard I tug. Panic rises in my throat as I realise I'm trapped. I tug frantically at the ring, but it refuses to budge. My heart pounds in my ears as the Vraken's grip tightens around me. The ring won't come off. I gasp out, panic rising in my throat. The Vraken lets out a low, menacing chuckle that sends a shiver down my spine. So it seems the ring has chosen a new master. His words make no sense to me. How can an inanimate object choose anything? But the gravity of the situation becomes clear as his clawed hand wraps around my throat, not tight enough to choke, but a clear threat. You will let me drink your blood, human, he growls, his lips brushing against my ear. Or I will slaughter your pathetic family one by one before your eyes. Ice water floods my veins at his words. He knows about my brothers, the only family I have left in this cruel world. Tears sting my eyes as I imagine their broken bodies, their light snuffed out forever. Please, I whisper, my voice breaking. Not them. Then you will obey, the Vraken says, his tone brooking no argument. Hold still. I shudder as his fangs graze the side of my neck. Every instinct screams at me to fight, to run, but the thought of my brother's fate paralyses me. Squeezing my eyes shut, I wait for the bite that will seal my doom. Sharp pricks of pain lance my neck as the Vraken's fangs sink into my flesh. A strangled gasp escapes my lips. But then, something changes. A rush of dizzying euphoria washes over me, banishing the fear and pain. My body goes limp in the Vraken's arms, as waves of blissful ecstasy crest over me. Is this death? If so, it's more glorious than I ever imagined. My mind swims in a haze of pleasure, barely aware of the Vraken's arms still holding me upright. The euphoria is intoxicating, unlike anything I've ever experienced. A small part of me knows I should be terrified, but I can't bring myself to care. The Vraken purrs against my neck, his tongue lapping at the wound. Exquisite. I shudder, torn between revulsion and a craving for more. What's happening to me? He releases me suddenly, and I stumble, my legs weak as a newborn fawn's. I brace myself against a nearby wall, struggling to clear my head. What? What did you do to me? I manage to gasp out. The Vraken's dark eyes gleam with satisfaction. I merely tasted what is rightfully mine. Anger flares through the fog of pleasure. I'm not yours. He laughs, the sound rich and menacing. Oh, but you are, little human. That ring binds you to me now. I glance down at the accursed thing, still stubbornly clinging to my finger. Take it, I plead. I don't want it. It's not that simple. He steps closer, and I press myself against the wall. The ring has chosen you, and now, so have I. My heart races. What does that mean? His grin is all fang. It means you're coming with me. No! I try to run, but he's too fast. In an instant, he has me pinned against his chest again. You have two choices, he growls. Come willingly, or I drag you. Either way, you're mine now. I think of my brothers, of the threat hanging over their heads. Swallowing hard, I nod. I'll come, just don't hurt them. Wise decision. He scoops me up as if I weigh nothing. Hold on tight, little human, we're going for a ride. Before I can protest, we're moving at impossible speed. The world blurs around us, and I bury my face against his chest to keep from getting dizzy. What have I gotten myself into? The Vraken pulls back, licking his lips. The ring has chosen you. It won't leave. My mind races. If I can't remove it, maybe I can sell it. Use the money to escape this nightmare. Because let's be clear, fate has looked down on me. It's somehow made my life even worse.
Chapter 4. Marcus. The woman's blood courses through my veins, igniting every nerve ending. Power surges within me, a heady rush that makes me feel invincible. I've never experienced anything like this before. I release her wrist, licking my lips to savor every last drop. Her pulse races beneath my fingers, her chest heaving with each breath. The scent of her fear mingles with arousal, an intoxicating cocktail. By the deceiver, I growl, my voice rough with desire. That was intense, she finishes, her eyes wide. I nod, unable to form coherent thoughts. The blood sings in my veins, heightening every sensation. Colors seem brighter, sounds sharper. I can hear her heartbeat, smell the sweat beading on her skin. Is it always like this? I ask, more to myself than her. She shakes her head, confusion evident in her furrowed brow. How would I know? Right. Of course she wouldn't. This is all new to her too. I flex my fingers, marveling at the strength coursing through them. I feel invincible, like I could tear down walls with my bare hands. The urge to test my newfound power is overwhelming. We need to get out of here, I say, glancing around the old woman's hovel. It's not safe. Where? She asks, her voice trembling slightly. I consider our options. The council district is out. Too many prying eyes. The slums are dangerous, even for someone as powerful as I now feel. My place, I decide. It's secure, and we can figure out our next move there. She hesitates, fear flashing in her eyes. You don't have a choice, I remind her, my tone brooking no argument. Unless you want your brothers to suffer the consequences. Her jaw clenches, but she nods reluctantly. Smart girl. I lead her out into the night, my senses on high alert. Every shadow seems to hold potential threats, but I feel ready for anything. Let them come. I'll tear them apart. The woman, Alara, I remember, stumbles behind me, struggling to keep up with my pace. I slow down, remembering that she's still just human, fragile, breakable, but necessary. Her blood is the key to everything now. We make our way through the winding alleys, sticking to the shadows. Alara stumbles along behind me, her labored breaths loud in the still night air, weak humans and their pitiful stamina. I lead her to a nondescript doorway tucked between two ramshackle buildings. With a muttered word, the door shimmers and unlocks. I glance over my shoulder at Alara, catching her look of surprise. Her eyes go wide as she takes in the spacious interior, such a stark contrast to the run-down exterior. Make yourself comfortable, I say, gesturing around the richly appointed room. Can I get you a drink? She eyes me warily but gives a small nod. As I pour 2 glasses of Durnan Red, I can feel her gaze boring into my back. No doubt she's wondering just what she's gotten herself into. Good. A healthy sense of fear will keep her in line. I hand her one of the glasses. To new beginnings. She doesn't respond to my toast, just takes a sip of the deep red liquid. I watch as she savors the rich flavor, her throat working as she swallows. The thought of her warm blood sliding down that delicate throat makes my mouth water. Get a grip, I chide myself. There will be time for that later. For now, I need to figure out how to secure the ring's power permanently. So, I say, taking a seat across from her. I imagine you have questions. Just one, she says, her voice low. What happens now? I lean back in my chair, regarding her over the rim of my glass. Her question hangs in the air, loaded with implications. What happens now? I muse, letting the silence stretch out. Her gaze remains fixed on me, those defiant eyes boring into mine. Such fire for a mere human. I take another sip of the rich red wine, savoring the way it coats my tongue. When I finally speak, my voice is a low rumble. Now you belong to me. Her brow furrows, lips parting in an instinctive protest. But I raise my hand, cutting her off before she can voice her objection. I'm not saying you're my slave or pet, I clarify, though the thought holds a certain dark appeal. But your life is bound to mine now, through the power of your blood. The ring chose you as its new master, but I'm the one who unlocked its true potential. I set my glass down, leaning forward to catch her gaze fully. You and I, we're in this together now. Your survival depends on my protection, and my power. A feral grin tugs at my lips. Well, let's just say I'll need a steady supply of your exquisite vintage. Her throat works as she swallows hard. Fear wars with defiance in those beautiful eyes of hers. Good. Let her be afraid. It will make controlling her so much easier. And if I refuse? She asks, proud fool that she is. What's to stop me from taking the ring and disappearing? I chuckle darkly at her naivete. You think it would be that simple? Precious, you haven't even begun to comprehend the forces at work here. Rising from my seat, I prowl around the back of her chair. She stiffens as I lean down, my lips brushing the delicate shell of her ear. That ring is older than civilization itself, I murmur, letting my words caress her skin. Forged by the darkest of magics, imbued with unspeakable power from the deceiver. You think you can simply walk away from that? I trail my fingers along the slender column of her neck, feeling her pulse flutter wildly beneath my touch. No, you're part of something greater now, grander than you can possibly imagine. And I'm the one who's going to show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. She shivers, whether from fear or arousal I can't say. but her scent grows richer, headier in the confines of the room. My lips curve in a predatory smile. So you see, there is no refusing. I purr against the sensitive skin just below her ear. Not anymore. You're mine now, in every way that matters. The sharp intake of her breath is music to my ears. Oh yes, this is going to be fun. I step back, savoring the tension crackling between us. Alara's eyes dart around the room, searching for an escape that doesn't exist. Her fingers twist the ring nervously, as if contemplating ripping it off. Don't even think about it, I warn, my voice low and dangerous. That ring is bonded to you now. Removing it would be unpleasant. She glares at me, defiance flashing in those expressive eyes. You can't keep me here forever. A chuckle escapes my lips. Can I? You underestimate my resources, little one. I circle back to my chair, sprawling into it with casual grace. But let's not dwell on unpleasantries. We have much to discuss. Like what? She spits, venom in her tone. Like how we're going to use that pretty little ring of yours to reshape the world. Her brow furrows. What do you mean? I lean forward, excitement thrumming through my veins. That ring holds power beyond your wildest dreams. With it, we could topple empires, raise armies of the dead, bend reality itself to our will. We, she scoffs. There is no we. I want nothing to do with your schemes. Oh, but you're already involved, my dear. The moment you slipped on that ring, you became a player in a game far bigger than yourself. I rise, prowling towards her once more. She shrinks back in her chair, but there's nowhere for her to go. Think about it, Alara. I purr, my voice silky smooth. No more scraping by as a slave. No more watching your brothers suffer. You could have everything you've ever dreamed of and more. Her resolve wavers just for a moment. I press my advantage. All you have to do is work with me. Let me guide you, teach you to harness the ring's true potential. She bites her lip, uncertainty plain on her face. And if I refuse, my smile turns predatory. Then I'll simply have to find more persuasive methods to ensure your cooperation.
Chapter 5. Alara. The sun blazes overhead, harsh and unforgiving. I squint against its glare, my hand instinctively shielding my eyes. Beside me, Marcus strides confidently down the cobblestone street, his skin unmarred by the daylight that should be turning him to ash. How does it feel? I ask, unable to keep the awe from my voice. He turns to me, a predatory grin spreading across his face. Invigorating. My fingers brush against the ring on my hand, its weight a constant reminder of the power coursing through my veins. Power that now flows through him too. Watch this, Marcus says, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Before I can react, he darts forward, faster than any human could move. In the blink of an eye, he's across the street, standing atop a merchant's stall. The shopkeeper gapes, mouth hanging open in shock. Marcus! I hiss, glancing around nervously. Get down from there! He laughs, the sound rich and carefree. It's jarring, hearing such joy from a creature I've only known as a merciless predator. With a graceful leap, he's back at my side. Relax, little bird, he murmurs, his breath tickling my ear. No one will believe their eyes anyway. I shiver, not entirely from fear. The nickname sends a thrill through me, one I'm not ready to examine too closely. You're going to expose us both, I mutter, picking up my pace. His hand catches my arm, grip firm but not painful. And where exactly do you think you're going? I freeze, suddenly remembering my place. The illusion of freedom shatters, reality crashing back in. I'm not his equal, not his friend. I'm his prisoner, his unwilling blood bank. I thought we were just walking. I stammer, hating how small my voice sounds. Marcus's eyes narrow, all traces of playfulness vanishing. Did you forget our arrangement so quickly? Your brothers' lives depend on your cooperation. The threat hangs heavy in the air between us. I swallow hard, fighting back tears of frustration. No, I whisper. I haven't forgotten. His grip loosens, fingers trailing down my arm in a caress that makes my skin prickle. Good girl. Now I think it's time for a little refreshment. My heart races as Marcus leads me into a narrow alley. The shadows swallow us, offering a flimsy illusion of privacy. His eyes gleam in the dim light, hunger etched across his face. Here, I whisper, glancing nervously at the street beyond. Afraid someone might see? He chuckles, pressing me against the rough stone wall. Let them watch. His words send a shiver down my spine. I should be terrified, disgusted even. But there's a thrill coursing through me that I can't deny. The ring pulses on my finger, a constant reminder of the power I hold, power that Marcus craves. You're enjoying this, he murmurs, nose skimming along my neck. I can smell it on you. I want to deny it, but the words stick in my throat. Instead, I tilt my head, exposing more of my skin to him. It's an invitation I'm ashamed to offer, but one I can't resist. His fangs graze my flesh, teasing. Say it, he growls. Tell me you want this. The words catch. I think of my brothers, of the threat hanging over their heads. But even that isn't enough to explain away the heat pooling in my belly. I want it, I breathe. Marcus doesn't hesitate. His fangs sink into me, and I gasp at the sharp pain that quickly melts into pleasure. My fingers tangle in his hair, holding him close as he drinks deeply. The world narrows to this moment, the press of his body against mine, the wet sound of his feeding, the intoxicating mix of fear and desire. I'm lightheaded, floating on a sea of sensation. When he finally pulls away, I whimper at the loss. Marcus looks down at me, blood, my blood, staining his lips. He swipes his tongue across them, savouring every drop. Delicious, he purrs. I should feel used, drained. Instead, I'm buzzing with an energy I can't explain. The ring thrums on my finger, and I wonder if it's responding to my heightened emotions. Marcus steps back, his eyes roaming over me. There's something new in his gaze, a hint of softness that wasn't there before. It vanishes quickly, replaced by his usual smirk. Come, he says, offering his hand. We have work to do. I take Marcus's outstretched hand, my skin tingling where we touch. As we step out of the alley, the bustling street feels surreal after our intimate moment. My legs wobble slightly, and I'm not sure if it's from blood loss or the lingering effects of his bite. What work? I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. Marcus's grip tightens, guiding me through the crowd. We're going to pay a visit to some old friends of mine. A chill runs down my spine. I've seen what Marcus is capable of, the violence he can unleash. Friends? He chuckles, the sound dark and promising. Well, perhaps enemies would be more accurate. We weave through the marketplace, past stalls selling exotic fruits and shimmering fabrics. The scents of spices and perfumes mingle in the air, but all I can smell is the metallic tang of my own blood on Marcus's breath. You're going to kill them, I whisper, realization dawning. Marcus doesn't deny it. They've been a thorn in my side for far too long, and now thanks to you. He raises our joined hands, pressing a kiss to my knuckles just above the ring. I'm finally strong enough to deal with them permanently. I should be horrified. I should pull away, run screaming into the crowd. But the ring pulses on my finger, a steady thrum that seems to sync with my heartbeat. It whispers of power, of revenge against those who've wronged me. What do you need me to do? The words slip out before I can stop them. Marcus's eyes gleam with approval. Just stay close, little bird. Your presence alone is enough. We turn down a quieter street, lined with grand houses. Each step takes us further from the safety of the crowds, deeper into a world I've only glimpsed from the shadows. Remember, Marcus murmurs as we approach an ornate door. No matter what happens inside, you belong to me now. They can't touch you. I nod, swallowing hard. The ring burns against my skin, a constant reminder of the power I wield, and the chains that bind me to this dangerous creature. Marcus raises his fist to knock, and I brace myself for whatever comes next. The door swings open, revealing a dimly lit foyer. A tall, slender dark elf with silver-streaked hair stands before us, his eyes widening as he takes in Marcus. Impossible, he breathes. Marcus's grip on my hand tightens. Hello, Cassius. Miss me? Before I can blink, Marcus surges forward. His free hand wraps around Cassius's throat, lifting him off the ground with inhuman strength. I stumble along, pulled by our joined hands. How? Cassius chokes out, clawing at Marcus's arm. That's for me to know, Marcus growls. He glances at me, a wicked grin spreading across his face. And for you to die wondering. My stomach lurches as Marcus tosses Cassius across the room like a rag doll. The older dark elf crashes into an ornate mirror, shards of glass raining down around him. Marcus, I whisper, tugging at his hand. What are you doing? He turns to me, eyes blazing with a mix of triumph and bloodlust. Settling old scores, little bird. Stay close. We move deeper into the house, Marcus dragging me along. I want to look away, to close my eyes against the violence, but I can't. The ring on my finger pulses with each beat of my racing heart, almost as if it's feeding off my fear and excitement. 2 more dark elves appear, alerted by the commotion. They charge at Marcus, swords drawn. But he's too fast, too strong. With his free hand, he grabs one by the throat and slams him into the wall. The other he kicks with such force that I hear bones crack. Is this what you wanted? I ask, my voice barely audible over the sounds of the fight. Marcus laughs, the sound both terrifying and exhilarating. Oh, little bird, this is just the beginning.
Chapter 6. Marcus. My reign of terror has lasted 2 days, and yet I still have more enemies to kill. The sun's rays caress my skin, a sensation I haven't felt in centuries. I stand atop the highest tower in Valoris, basking in the warm glow that should be burning me to ash. But here I am, alive and thriving. Impossible, I whisper, a grin spreading across my face. I leap from the tower, plummeting towards the bustling streets below. The wind whips through my hair as I fall, exhilaration coursing through my veins. At the last second, I twist my body and land gracefully on my feet, startling a group of dark elves passing by. What in the deceiver's name? One of them gasps. I bare my fangs in a predatory smile. Run! They scatter like insects, their fear a palpable scent in the air. I inhale deeply, savoring it. A Vrekin walking in broad daylight. The power Alara's blood has given me is beyond my wildest dreams. I can go anywhere, do anything. No one can stop me now. I stride through the streets, reveling in the shocked stares and hushed whispers that follow in my wake. Humans cower, dark elves gape, and I know that even hidden Vrekin who are unseen by the world will be watching with a mixture of awe and terror. Marcus! A familiar voice calls out. How are you? I turn to see Kalis, one of my kind, staring at me with wide eyes. His gaze darts between me and the sun overhead. Impossible, he breathes. I chuckle. Nothing's impossible anymore, old friend. Kalis takes a step back. What have you done? I've evolved, I say, spreading my arms wide. I've become what we were always meant to be. His eyes narrow. "The ring. You found it." I shake my head. "Better. I found its keeper." Kaelus's face pales. "Marcus, you can't—" "Can't what?" I snarl, grabbing him by the throat. "Can't seize power when it's right in front of me? Can't elevate our kind to its rightful place?" I lift him off the ground effortlessly, my newfound strength surging through me. Kaelus claws at my hand, his feet dangling uselessly. "This is just the beginning," I growl. I release Kaelus, letting him crumple to the ground. He gasps for air, rubbing his throat. "You've lost your mind," he chokes out. "On the contrary, I've never seen things more clearly." I turn away from him, surveying the chaos I've caused in the streets. Dark elves whisper amongst themselves, pointing and staring. Humans scurry for cover, their fear thick in the air. "This changes everything, Marcus," Kaelus says, rising to his feet. The council can rot," I snarl. "They've kept us in the shadows for too long." A group of dark elf guards approaches, hands on their weapons. I bare my fangs in a feral grin. "Stand down, Fracken," one of them orders. I laugh. "Make me." They draw their swords, the metal singing as it leaves their scabbards. I don't move, letting them surround me. "Last chance," the lead guard warns. I cock my head, studying him. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." He lunges forward, blade aimed at my heart. I sidestep easily, grabbing his wrist and twisting. The sword clatters to the ground as he cries out in pain. The others attack as one. I move faster than they can see, dodging and weaving between their blades. One by one they fall, unconscious or groaning in pain. I stand amidst the fallen guards, not even breathing hard. Kaelus watches me, his expression a mix of awe and horror. "This is madness," he says. "You can't take on the entire city." I grin, feeling the power of Alara's blood coursing through my veins. "Watch me." I stride through the streets of Valoris, reveling in the chaos I've caused. The air is thick with fear and confusion, a heady mix that only fuels my newfound power. Dark elves whisper and point, their usual arrogance replaced by uncertainty. Humans scurry for cover, their terror a familiar scent. "Marcus!" Kaelus calls out, struggling to keep up with me. "You need to stop this madness!" I whirl on him, grabbing him by the throat and lifting him off the ground. "Madness? This is evolution, Kaelus. We've cowered in the shadows for too long." His eyes bulge as he claws at my hand. I release him, letting him drop to his knees, gasping for air. "The council will never allow this," he chokes out. I laugh, the sound echoing off the buildings around us. "The council is obsolete. It's time for a new order." A commotion draws my attention. A group of dark elf nobles has gathered, their faces twisted in disgust and fear. One of them, a haughty-looking woman with elaborate silver jewelry, steps forward. "Frackin' filth!" she spits. "How dare you walk in our streets?" I grin, baring my fangs. "Your streets? I think you'll find things are changing, my lady." She raises her hand, magic crackling at her fingertips. "I'll show you change, beast." A bolt of energy shoots from her hand, aimed straight at my heart. I don't even try to dodge. The magic hits me square in the chest, and nothing happens. The noble's eyes widen in shock. "Impossible," she whispers. I close the distance between us in the blink of an eye, my hand wrapping around her throat. "You have no idea what's possible anymore." I tighten my grip on the noble's throat, relishing the fear in her eyes. The crowd around us gasps, a mixture of shock and terror rippling through the air. I can smell their panic, taste it on my tongue. "Let her go!" someone shouts. I turn my head, still holding the struggling noble. A group of dark elf guards pushes through the crowd, their weapons drawn. They hesitate, uncertainty clear on their faces as they take in the scene. "I said let her go," the lead guard repeats, his voice wavering. I laugh, the sound echoing off the buildings. "Or what?" The guard's eyes dart between me and the noble. I can see the wheels turning in his head, trying to figure out how a Vraken could be standing in broad daylight, unharmed by their magic. "This is your last warning," he says, raising his sword. I release the noble, shoving her towards the guards. She stumbles, gasping for air, and collapses into their arms. "You want to fight?" I spread my arms wide. "Come and get it." The guards charge as one, their blades glinting in the sunlight. I stand my ground, waiting until the last possible moment before I move. I dodge the first strike, grab the guard's arm, and use his momentum to throw him into his companions. They tumble to the ground in a tangle of limbs and curses. I laugh, exhilarated by the ease of it all. Is this the best you can do? More guards pour into the street, surrounding me. I spin slowly, taking them all in. Their fear is palpable, a delicious scent that only fuels my confidence. "What are you waiting for?" I taunt. "Attack!" They hesitate, exchanging nervous glances. I can see the doubt in their eyes, the growing realization that they might be outmatched. "He's just one Vraken!" a voice shouts from the crowd. "Kill him!" The guards seem to shake off their fear, gripping their weapons tighter. They advance slowly, cautiously, like predators stalking dangerous prey. I grin, baring my fangs. That's more like it. Several hours of killing later, I stumble into my lair, exhausted and covered in blood. The metallic scent clings to me, a testament to the carnage I've wrought. As I enter, my eyes immediately find Alara. Her face contorts in shock, eyes widening as she takes in my appearance. The sight of her reaction hits me like a physical blow. A wave of sadness washes over me, unexpected and unwelcome. "Alara," I say, my voice hoarse. Words fail me. What can I say to explain the destruction I've caused? The power coursing through my veins had been intoxicating. But now, faced with her horror, I feel hollow. "This ends now," I mutter, more to myself than to her. No more vengeance. I slump against the wall, suddenly aware of how drained I feel. The invulnerability granted by Alara's blood may protect me from harm, but it can't shield me from exhaustion. "Let me rest," I manage to say, sliding down to the floor. "Tonight, I'll make it up to you." My eyes begin to close, the weight of the day's events pulling me towards unconsciousness. The last thing I see before darkness claims me is Alara's face, a mix of fear and something else I can't quite identify. I wake with the setting sun, my body thrumming with renewed energy. Alara stands nearby, her eyes wary as I approach. Without a word, I pull her close and sink my fangs into her neck. Her blood floods my mouth, sweet and intoxicating. I drink deeply, savoring every drop. As I pull away, I notice her hesitation. The promise I made last night echoes in my mind. "Come," I say, extending my hand. "Let's get out of here." We make our way to the waterfront, the night air cool against our skin. I lead her to a secluded spot overlooking the dark waters. "I thought we could have dinner," I say, gesturing to the spread I've arranged. Alara eyes the food suspiciously. "Why are you doing this?" I sigh, settling onto the blanket. "I want to know you, Alara. Tell me about your life." She hesitates, then slowly sits beside me. "What's there to tell? I'm a human in Protheka. Life isn't exactly easy." "How so?" Alara's eyes harden. "We're treated like animals. Worse, even. The dark elves see us as nothing more than slaves or playthings. Every day is a struggle just to survive." I listen, feeling a pang of guilt. How long have I ignored the suffering of humans? "And you?" Alara asks. "How long have you been like this?" I gaze out over the dark, rippling water, my reflection a ghostly blur in its depths. "Centuries," I murmur, the weight of time heavy in my voice. I've walked among the Vraken for longer than I care to remember. Watching, waiting, never truly belonging. A sigh escapes me, filled with the loneliness of countless years. My fingers trace idle patterns on the ground, remembering countless battles and endless nights spent in solitude. It's a strange existence, I add softly, to be both part of a world and forever separate from it. Alara's eyes soften slightly, a flicker of understanding crossing her face. It sounds lonely. I nod, surprised by the empathy in her voice. It is. But tonight, I'm not alone. We fall into a comfortable silence, the gentle lapping of waves against the shore filling the air. I watch Alara as she picks at the food, her movements cautious but less guarded than before. "Tell me about your brothers," I say, breaking the quiet. She looks up, startled. "My brothers?" "The ones I threatened." The words taste bitter in my mouth. I'm sorry for that." Alara's eyes narrow, but she doesn't lash out as I half expected. Instead, she takes a deep breath. "They're good kids. Tyrann's the oldest, always trying to protect us. Nail's the curious one, always getting into trouble. And little Kip. He's too young to really understand how bad things are." As she speaks, her face softens, a genuine smile tugging at her lips. It's the first time I've seen her truly relax in my presence. "You care for them deeply," I observe. "They're all I have," she replies, her voice barely above a whisper. I lean back, studying her. In this moment, she's not just a means to an end, a source of power. She's a person with hopes and fears and people she loves. "What if—" I begin, the words forming before I fully thought them through. "What if I could help them? Your brothers, I mean." Alara's head snaps up, her eyes wide with surprise and suspicion. "What do you mean?" I run a hand through my hair, suddenly uncertain. "I have power now, thanks to you. I could, I don't know, find them a safer place to live? Make sure they're protected?" She stares at me, her expression unreadable. "Why would you do that?" "Because—" I trail off, searching for the right words. "Because maybe it's time I started using this power for something other than destruction." Our eyes meet, and I'm struck by the depth of emotion I see in hers. Anger, fear, but also a flicker of something else. Understanding, perhaps. Without thinking, I lean in and press my lips to hers. For a moment, the world falls away, and there's only us.
Chapter 7. Alara. The kiss is intoxicating. Marcus's hands roam over my body. Desire courses through my veins. But it's more than that. There's magic going through my veins too. "Follow me," he says to me, and without waiting for a response, he takes my hand and drags me down the street. We come upon a nondescript house. "A safe house for me when I'm in this part of town," he says. My mind tries to think through the fog. How many safe houses and secret hideouts does Marcus have throughout the city? But then we're inside and his hands roam my body all over again. The rest of this chapter is too spicy for YouTube. I know you're disappointed, but to make it up to you, you can use promo code YouTube30 to take 30% off this audiobook on worldsofprotheka.com. It will be worth the visit. And now back to our story.
Chapter 8. Marcus. The taste of her lingers on my tongue, sweeter than the finest blood wine. Alara's scent, a heady mix of jasmine and fear, clings to my skin. I can't shake the memory of her soft flesh beneath my fangs, the way her pulse quickened as I drank. Damnation. What's wrong with me? I paced the shadowy confines of my chambers, unable to rest. The sun's deadly rays filter through the heavy curtains, reminding me of my newfound invulnerability. Thanks to her blood, I could walk in daylight now, be unstoppable. Yet all I can think about is the curve of her neck, the flutter of her eyelashes against flushed cheeks. "Get a grip, Marcus!" I growl, running a hand through my hair. "She's just a human, a means to an end." But even as the words leave my lips, I know they're a lie. Alara is different. The way she stood up to me, despite her terror. The fierce protectiveness she has for her brothers. Her unexpected wit and sharp tongue. I find myself smiling at the memory of her latest barb. "If you're going to drink my blood, the least you could do is buy me dinner first." Gods, I actually took her up on that offer. Our date by the sea. I've never experienced anything like it. The warmth of the sun on my skin, the crash of waves, the taste of mortal food, all because of her. And then there was the kiss. I groan, collapsing onto my bed. The sheets still hold a trace of her scent, and I bury my face in them like some love-struck fool. What is happening to me? I'm Marcus, one of the most feared Vrakan operatives. I don't get attached, but Alara's got me twisted in knots. The way she gasped when I touched her, how she melted against me. No, I can't afford to be distracted. There are enemies to deal with, a ring to secure. Alara is just a temporary ally. Nothing more. So why can't I stop thinking about her? A sharp rap at the door jolts me from my reverie. I growl, annoyed at the interruption. "What?" The door creaks open and a trembling servant peeks in. "My lord, I apologize for the disturbance, but—" "Spit it out!" I snap, my patience wearing thin. The servant flinches. "There's a delegation of Vrakan at the door, sir. They're demanding an audience with you." By the gods, this can't be good. "How many?" "3, my lord. They appear to be from the council." My stomach drops. The council rarely sends delegations, and when they do, it's never for a social call. I run a hand through my hair, mind racing. Do they know about Alara? About the ring? "Tell them I'll be there shortly," I say, keeping my voice steady despite the unease churning in my gut. The servant bows and scurries away. I take a deep breath, centering myself. Whatever this is about, I need to be on my guard. The council isn't known for its mercy or understanding. I dress quickly, donning my most intimidating attire. Black leather, silver accents, my sharpest fangs on display. It's all about the image with these bureaucratic bloodsuckers. As I make my way to the entrance hall, I can't help but worry about Alara. If the council has somehow learned of her existence, of the power she now holds. I push the thought away. One problem at a time. The delegation awaits me, 3 figures cloaked in shadows despite the torchlight. I recognize Vestra, the matron's right hand, her wings folded tightly against her back. Beside her stand 2 male Vrakan I don't know by name, but their cold eyes and rigid postures speak volumes. "Marcus," Vestra purrs, her voice like silk over steel. "We need to talk." I steel myself, meeting Vestra's cold gaze. To what do I owe the pleasure? "Cut the pleasantries, Marcus," she hisses. "We know about the ring." My blood runs cold, but I keep my face impassive. "I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about." The male to Vestra's left sneers. "Don't play dumb. We've sensed its power. You've been using it." "For the good of all Vrakan," Vestra continues, "you will transfer it over to us immediately." I clench my fists, mind racing. It's not that simple. The ring, it's found an owner. "Then bring them to us," the other male demands. I hesitate, knowing I'm treading dangerous ground. The owner is a human woman. Silence falls, heavy and oppressive. Then Vestra's lips curl into a cruel smile. "Perfect. Bring her to us. We'll extract the ring's power, then dispose of her." "No," I growl, surprising even myself with the vehemence in my voice. "She's my mate." Laughter erupts from the delegation, cold and mocking. Vestra's eyes narrow. "Your mate? Don't be ridiculous, Marcus. She's human. Nothing more than meat." She's different, I insist, hating how defensive I sound. The ring chose her for a reason. It doesn't matter, Vestra snaps. Human or not, she poses a threat to our kind. You will bring her to us, or we'll take her by force. Rage boils within me, but I force it down. I can't let them see how much Alara means to me. And if I refuse... The male to Vestra's right steps forward, fangs bared. Then you'll be considered a traitor to your own kind. I bare my fangs, a low growl rumbling in my chest. Is that a threat? Vestra's eyes flash dangerously. It's a promise, Marcus. The Council's will is absolute. You know this. My mind races, searching for a way out of this mess. I can't let them get their hands on Alara. The thought of her being disposed of makes my blood boil. But I also can't openly defy the Council. Not yet, at least. I need time, I say, forcing my voice to remain calm. The human, she's skittish. If I move too quickly, she'll bolt with the ring. We'll lose everything. Vestra's eyes narrow, clearly suspicious. How much time? 3 days, I reply, hoping it's enough to formulate a plan. I'll bring her to the council chambers myself. The two males exchange glances, but Vestra holds up a hand to silence their protests. She studies me for a long moment, her ancient eyes seeming to pierce right through me. 2 days, she says finally. Not a moment longer. And Marcus? Her voice drops to a dangerous whisper. If you try to run, if you attempt to deceive us in any way, we will hunt you to the ends of Protheka. We will slaughter every human in our path until we find you and your precious mate. Do I make myself clear? I clench my jaw, fighting back the urge to rip her throat out. Instead, I force myself to nod. Crystal. Vestra's lips curl into a cruel smile. Good. 2 days, Marcus. Bring us the girl and the ring, or face the consequences. With that, the delegation turns and glides away, leaving me alone with the weight of their ultimatum pressing down on me like a mountain of stone.
Chapter 9. Alara. Today will be a good day, I murmur as I wake up that morning. Fate has changed how she looks at me. Marcus's fangs pierce my neck, sending shivers down my spine. The initial sting fades to a pleasurable warmth. His lips brush my skin as he drinks, and I can't help but sigh. Ready for breakfast? He wipes his mouth, eyes gleaming. Starving. We stroll to a quaint cafe, sunlight dappling the cobblestones. Marcus doesn't flinch in the brightness. His lips are still stained crimson from our earlier intimacy, my blood coursing through him, a shield against the sun's harmful rays. What'll it be? The waiter eyes us curiously, no doubt noting Marcus's feral grace and my rumpled appearance. Sweetbread and jelly, please, I murmur, offering the young man a demure smile to put him at ease. Just coffee for me. Marcus winks rakishly, making no effort to hide the hunger smouldering in his gaze. Our day unfolds like a dream, a stolen moment of bliss amid the chaos of our lives. We wander the bustling market, fingers intertwined, my thumb idly caressing the calluses on his palm from years of wielding blades. The rough texture sends a thrill through me, a reminder of his deadly grace. Marcus buys me a silk scarf of deepest crimson, its colour matching the stain on his lips. He wraps it gently around my neck, his fingers lingering, before nuzzling against the sensitive flesh. I shiver, desire pooling low in my belly. The soft fabric caresses my skin, a constant reminder of his touch. His breath is warm against my ear as he whispers, "Beautiful." I lean into him, savouring his solid presence and the intoxicating scent of leather and spice that clings to him. For a moment, I forget about the dangers that lurk in the shadows, losing myself in the simple pleasure of being close to him. We laugh at the antics of street performers juggling knives, their blades flashing in the sunlight. I can't help but notice how Marcus's eyes track each throw with predatory focus. We share stolen kisses in hidden alcoves that leave me breathless and aching for more of his touch. His hands roam freely, awakening every nerve ending in my body. For this fleeting moment, the world belongs only to us. I push away thoughts of our dangerous reality, of the secrets we carry, and the enemies that hunt us. Right now, there's just Marcus, me, and the intoxicating promise of what's to come when night falls. His fingers intertwine with mine, sending shivers down my spine. I lean into him, breathing in his scent, committing every detail to memory. The way his eyes crinkle when he smiles, the rough calluses on his hands, the warmth of his body against mine. It's all perfect, all mine. For now, at least. As the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the bustling street, I feel a familiar mix of excitement and trepidation building within me. Night brings danger, yes, but also the thrilling possibility of stolen moments alone with Marcus, away from prying eyes. As dusk falls, Marcus leads me to an opulent mansion. "A surprise," he whispers. The door creaks open, hands grab me, yanking me inside. Marcus doesn't resist. "Well done, brother." A tall vampire nods approvingly. I struggle against my captors. "Marcus, what's happening?" The tall one smirks. "Your blood is far too valuable to waste on one vampire, my dear. You'll be our honoured guest." Marcus won't meet my eyes. "A comfortable pen," another adds. "Regular feedings. You'll want for nothing." My heart shatters. I trusted him. I loved him. And he's betrayed me.
Chapter 10. Marcus. "Marcus," the elder Vraken in the room coos. "You've done well for yourself. You've emerged as a savior of our race. You should be celebrating." I turn, facing the ancient creature. His wrinkled skin stretches tight over sharp cheekbones, eyes glittering with a hunger I recognize all too well. My stomach churns. Celebrating? The word tastes bitter on my tongue. You want me to celebrate condemning an innocent to eternal torment? The elder's lips curl into a sneer. Since when do we care about the fate of cattle? Rage bubbles up inside me. My fists clench at my sides, nails digging into my palms. Alara is not cattle. Oh, he raises an eyebrow, amusement dancing in those dark depths. And what is she then, Marcus? Your pet? Your lover? I growl low and dangerous. She's a person, with hopes, dreams, a family. How quaint. The elder waves a dismissive hand. Your time among the humans has softened you. Remember what you are, boy. I remember exactly what I am. My voice drops to a whisper. A monster. Laughter, cold and cruel, echoes through the chamber. And proud of it as you should be. Now, enough of this foolishness. The girl will serve her purpose, ensuring our kind's supremacy for generations to come. I close my eyes, picturing Alara's face. Her smile, bright as sunlight. The warmth of her skin against mine. The trust in her eyes when she offered me her blood. Trust I've shattered. What if? I swallow hard, knowing I'm treading dangerous ground. What if there was another way? One that didn't involve keeping her prisoner? The elder's laughter cuts through me like a blade. Oh, Marcus, your naivety is almost charming. Go, take a load off. Clear your head of these foolish notions. I'm led to a plush lounge, my mind reeling. The opulent surroundings blur as I collapse onto a velvet chaise. How could I have been so blind? Well, hello there, handsome. I look up to see Nakira sauntering towards me, her hips swaying hypnotically. Any other time, I'd be enthralled by her beauty, her predatory grace. But now, with Alara's face burned into my mind, Nakira's allure feels hollow. She slides onto the chaise, pressing against me with a feline grace that would have once set my blood on fire. Her scent, a heady mix of blood and jasmine, washes over me, threatening to cloud my senses. I force myself to stay focused, even as her proximity sends a jolt through my body. "I heard about your little triumph," she purrs, running a pale finger along my jaw. The touch is electric, but I resist the urge to lean into it. "Let me help you. Celebrate." Her dark eyes glitter with hunger and something else. Ambition, perhaps. No, definitely ambition. I know Nakira's game all too well. She's always angling for more power, more influence, treating every interaction like a chess match where she aims to be queen. And right now I'm her ticket to the top, the golden boy who just brought in a valuable asset. I can practically see the wheels turning in her head, calculating how she can use this to her advantage. It's almost admirable, in a twisted way, how relentless she is in her pursuit of status. But for the first time, I find myself unmoved by her charms, my thoughts drifting back to Alara and the mysteries surrounding her. Her fingers trace a path down my chest, a sensual dance that should have me purring in satisfaction. After all, I've just secured a valuable asset for our kind, and the woman before me, a cunning Vraken with an insatiable thirst for power, is offering herself as a reward. It's a scene that should have me reveling in the carnal pleasures of our kind. But my mind wanders, unmoved by her seductive touch. Instead, I find myself thinking of Alara, the human woman who's managed to capture my attention in a way none have before. Her resourcefulness, her resilience in the face of adversity, and the mysterious magic ring she possesses have all conspired to make her an enigma I can't ignore. The Vraken woman's fingers reach the waistband of my tight black leather pants, and I can sense her growing impatience. In our world, power and pleasure often go hand in hand, a fact she's well aware of. But as I gaze into her dark, almost black eyes, I can't help but feel a growing disconnect. The thrill of the chase, the allure of conquest, it all seems hollow in comparison to the connection I feel with Alara. All I see is Alara's face, her determined set of her jaw as she faced down danger, the softness in her eyes when she looked at me, the betrayal that must be there now. Nakira's lips brush my ear. "What's wrong, darling? Cat got your tongue?" I push her away, standing abruptly. "Not now, Nakira." She pouts, all feline grace and danger. "Since when do you turn down a good time?" "Since I fell in love with a human." The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. I love her. I love Alara. "I have to go," I mutter, already heading for the door. Nakira's indignant protests fade as I stride through the halls. My mind races. I need to get to Alara. I need to save her. But how?
Chapter 11. Alara. The brush scrubs my skin raw, leaving angry red marks in its wake. I bite my lip, refusing to give the servant the satisfaction of hearing me whimper. "Stop squirming," she hisses, dunking the brush back into the soapy water. "You're lucky they even bother to clean you." I want to spit in her face, to claw her eyes out, but I remain still, letting her manhandle me like a prized cow being readied for auction. "There," she says, standing back to survey her work. "At least you don't reek anymore." My nostrils flare at the overpowering scent of lavender soap. It's cloying, sickly sweet. Nothing like the earthy scents I'm used to. "Now for your hair." She grabs a fistful of my tangled locks, yanking my head back. I can't help the gasp that escapes my lips. "Tender-headed, are we?" She cackles, working a comb through the knots. "Better get used to it, pet. The masters like to pull." My stomach churns. I focus on a spot on the far wall, trying to detach myself from what's happening. But it's impossible to ignore the servant's rough hands, the cold air on my damp skin, the knowledge of what's to come. "There," she says finally, tossing the comb aside. You almost look human again. I meet her eyes in the mirror. They're dead, devoid of sympathy. How long has she been here, I wonder? How many girls has she prepared for the slaughter? Time to get dressed, she announces, holding up a scrap of fabric that barely qualifies as clothing. Can't have you running around naked, can we? Might give the masters ideas. She cackles at her own joke as she tugs the garment over my head. It clings to my still damp skin, leaving little to the imagination. I shudder, feeling exposed and vulnerable. The fabric is thin and scratchy, barely covering the essentials. I can't help but think this is intentional, another way to strip away my dignity before I'm presented to the masters. The servant steps back, eyeing me critically, as if assessing whether I'm sufficiently humiliated for their tastes. I resist the urge to cover myself, knowing it would only invite more mockery. Instead, I stand tall, refusing to let them see how deeply this degrades me. Perfect, she says, stepping back to admire her handiwork. You'll make a fine meal for them. I clench my fists, nails digging into my palms. I won't cry. I won't give her the satisfaction. Now, remember your manners, she says, leading me towards the door. Speak only when spoken to. Keep your eyes down. And for the love of all that's holy, don't try to run. It only makes them angry. She pushes me into the hallway, her bony fingers digging into my shoulder. Off you go, little morsel, she says, giving me a final shove. Try not to die too quickly. It's such a hassle to clean up the mess. The Vrakkans circle me like vultures, their dark eyes gleaming with hunger. I'm a piece of meat to them, nothing more. My skin crawls as they call out which parts of me they want to feast on. I claim her left arm, one hisses, licking his lips. Another chimes in. The right thigh looks juicy. That's mine. My stomach churns. I want to scream, to fight, but I'm frozen in place. The ring on my finger feels heavy, a constant reminder of how I got here, how Marcus betrayed me. Just as a Vrakkan reaches for me, the doors burst open with a thunderous crash. My heart leaps into my throat. Marcus. He strides in, his face a mask of cold fury. The other Vrakkan falls silent, watching him warily. I'll go first, he declares, his voice leaving no room for argument. The others exchange glances, then nod reluctantly. You brought her to us, one concedes. It's only fair. Marcus approaches me slowly, his eyes locked on mine. I can't read his expression. Is this another betrayal? Or has he come to save me? He leans in close, his breath hot on my neck. Trust me, he whispers, so softly I barely hear it. Then his fangs sink into my flesh. I gasp, more from surprise than pain. The sensation is different this time, almost pleasant. My body relaxes against my will, and I find myself leaning into him. The other Vrakkan watch hungrily as Marcus drinks. I can feel their impatience growing with each passing second. But Marcus takes his time, his hands gripping my arms tightly. Is he trying to drain me dry before the others can have their turn? Or is this part of some plan I can't see? My head starts to spin, whether from blood loss or confusion, I'm not sure. All I know is that I'm at Marcus's mercy once again. And I have no choice but to trust him.
Chapter 12. Marcus. The sweet, coppery taste of Alara's blood lingers on my tongue as I pull away from her neck. My gaze sweeps across the room, taking in the eager faces of my fellow Vrakkan. Their eyes glitter with hunger, bodies tense with anticipation. Patience, I drawl, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. Good things come to those who wait. Alara's pulse thrums beneath my fingertips as I caress her throat. She's trembling, but her eyes burn with defiance. It stirs something primal within me. Marcus, she whispers, barely audible. Please. I lean in close, my lips brushing her ear. "Trust me," I murmur, too low for the others to hear. Straightening, I address the crowd. "My friends, we have a rare delicacy before us, but before we indulge, let us savor the moment." A low rumble of agreement ripples through the gathering. I can smell their excitement, their bloodlust. It's intoxicating. "Who among you can truly appreciate what we have here?" I challenge, pacing before Alara like a predator. This isn't just any human. This is power incarnate. I spin, facing them fully. And power, my dear Vraken, is not meant to be shared. In a blur of motion, I snatch the ceremonial dagger from the nearby altar. Before anyone can react, I plunge it into the chest of the nearest Vraken. He crumples, shock etched on his face. Chaos erupts. I move like lightning, centuries of pent-up rage fueling my strikes. Blood sprays, screams fill the air. But I am invincible, untouchable. Through it all, Alara watches, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and awe. Alara's blood courses through me, igniting every nerve with liquid fire. I've never felt so alive, so powerful. The other Vraken are mere shadows compared to the inferno raging within me. "You dare challenge me?" I snarl, baring my fangs at the stunned crowd. A foolish young Vraken lunges at me, thinking speed will overcome my newfound strength. I catch him by the throat mid-leap, his momentum carrying us both across the room. We crash into a stone pillar, and it crumbles beneath the force of our impact. "Pathetic!" I growl, squeezing until I feel his windpipe collapse. Two more rush me from behind. I whirl, using the dying Vraken as a makeshift weapon. Bodies collide with a sickening crunch. They fall in a tangled heap, and I'm upon them in an instant, tearing and rending with primal fury. Blood coats my hands, my face, my clothes. The copper tang fills the air, driving the others into a frenzy. They attack en masse, a writhing sea of pale flesh and gnashing teeth. But they might as well be insects against a storm. I move faster than I ever have before, dodging blows that would have felled me mere hours ago. My strikes land with bone-shattering force, sending Vraken flying across the chamber like ragdolls. A winged Vraken swoops down from the rafters, talons extended. I leap to meet him, catching his ankle and using his momentum to slam him into the ground. The impact leaves a crater in the stone floor. "Is this the best you can offer?" I roar, challenging the dwindling crowd. From the corner of my eye, I see Alara. She's pressed against the wall, eyes wide with a mix of terror and something else. Admiration? Desire? The sight of her fuels me further. I turn back to face my kin, these creatures I once called family. Now they're nothing more than obstacles between Alara and freedom. "Come," I beckon, grinning with blood-stained teeth. "Let's see how immortal you truly are." The last of the Vraken turn to face me, their eyes wild with a mixture of fear and desperation. I can smell their terror, taste it on the air. It's intoxicating. "Come on, you pathetic worms," I growl, flexing my blood-soaked fingers. "Let's end this." They rush me all at once, a final, frantic assault. Fools. I sidestep the first, using his momentum to hurl him into the wall. The crack of his spine is music to my ears. Two more reach me, claws extended. I catch their wrists, crushing bone beneath my grip. They howl in agony as I slam their heads together. The sound of skulls colliding echoes through the chamber. A winged Vraken dive bombs from above. I leap, meeting him mid-air. We grapple, tumbling through the air. His wings beat furiously, but I'm too strong. I wrap my hands around his throat and squeeze. We crash to the ground, and I use the impact to snap his neck. The last one, a female with long silver hair, backs away. "Marcus, please," she begs. "We can—" I don't let her finish. In a blur of motion, I'm on her. My hand plunges into her chest, fingers wrapping around her heart. With a vicious yank, I tear it free. She collapses, eyes wide with disbelief. Silence falls over the blood-soaked chamber. I turn to Alara, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. "We need to go," I say, extending my hand. "Now." She hesitates for just a moment before taking it. Her warm fingers intertwine with mine, a stark contrast to the carnage surrounding us. I lead her towards the exit, my senses on high alert for any remaining threats. The corridors are eerily quiet as we make our escape, the only sound our rapid footsteps echoing off the stone walls. We race through the darkened streets of Valoris, my hand firmly grasping Alara's as I lead her towards safety. The city center looms ahead, a maze of twisting alleys and hidden passages that I know like the back of my hand. In minutes, we've left the mansion far behind and are approaching my hidden safe house. As we duck into a narrow side street, Alara tugs on my arm, her breath coming in short gasps. "Marcus, wait!" she pants. "They'll never stop as long as the ring is here, and you said it's attached to me." I pause, turning to face her. The moonlight catches in her eyes, reflecting the fear and uncertainty swirling within. My chest tightens at the sight. "There is one way in my searching that we can get rid of the ring," I say, my voice low and serious. "What is that?" she asks, her fingers tightening around mine. I take a deep breath, knowing the weight of what I'm about to propose. "We make you a Vraken." Alara's eyes widen, a mix of fear and something else. Curiosity, flashing across her face. "A Vraken?" she whispers, her voice trembling. "Yes." I nod, stepping closer to her. "It's the only way to break the ring's connection to you. But Alara, you need to understand what this means. You'll be like me, immortal, forever changed." I can see the conflict in her eyes, the battle between fear and something else. Hope, perhaps. "You'll be with me always," I add softly, reaching up to cup her cheek. For a long moment she's silent, searching my face. Then slowly she nods. "Okay," she breathes. "I trust you, Marcus. I love you, and I want to be yours. Forever." My heart swells at her words. Gently, I tilt her head to the side, exposing the smooth curve of her neck. "This will hurt," I warn her. "But only for a moment." I lean in, my fangs extending. As they pierce her skin, I feel her body tense against mine. Her blood flows into my mouth, sweeter than anything I've ever tasted. It takes all my willpower to pull away. Biting into my own wrist, I offer it to her. "Drink," I urge. Alara hesitates for only a second before pressing her lips to the wound. As she drinks, I feel our blood intermingling, a connection forming between us that transcends the physical. Suddenly, her body goes limp in my arms. I catch her as she collapses, cradling her against my chest. Now, we wait. I cradle Alara's limp form against my chest, her body growing colder with each passing moment. The transformation has begun. My heightened senses pick up the subtle changes. Her slowing heartbeat, the shift in her scent as my blood courses through her veins. Time seems to stretch endlessly as I wait, every fiber of my being attuned to Alara's transformation. The alley around us fades away, my entire world narrowing to the woman in my arms. Suddenly her body convulses. A gasp tears from her throat, her eyes flying open. They're different now, darker, with an otherworldly gleam. She looks at me, confusion and hunger warring in her gaze. "Marcus?" Her voice is raspy, unfamiliar. "I'm here," I murmur, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "How do you feel?" Alara blinks, her brow furrowing as she takes stock of her new body. "Everything's intense. I can hear so much. Smell." She trails off, her nostrils flaring. "Blood. I smell blood." I nod, helping her to her feet. "That's normal. You'll need to feed soon." As if on cue, a group of revelers stumbles past the mouth of our alley. Alara tenses, her eyes fixed on them with predatory focus. I place a restraining hand on her arm. "Not yet," I warn. We need to get somewhere safe first. She nods, but I can feel the tremors running through her body. The hunger is overwhelming for a newborn Vraken. I need to get her fed soon, or she might lose control. Come, I say, taking her hand. I know a place. We move through the shadows of Valoris, avoiding the main streets. Alara's newfound grace is evident in her silent footsteps, her movements fluid and precise. She's adapting quickly. As we near our destination, I sense her hesitation. Marcus, she whispers. The ring. Is it... I pause, turning to face her. In the dim light, I can see the faint outline where the ring once sat on her finger. But now there's nothing but smooth skin. It's gone, I confirm. The transformation broke its connection to you. Relief floods her features, quickly replaced by a mix of emotions I can't quite decipher. So what now? She asks, her voice barely audible. I cup her face in my hands, meeting her gaze steadily. Now, we survive, together.
Chapter 13. Alara. The carriage rattles to a stop. My brothers tumble out, wide-eyed and gaping at the towering fortress before us. I can't help but smile at their awe. This is where we'll live now? Finn, the youngest, asks. It is. I ruffle his hair. No more cramped rooms or stale bread. Marcus appears beside me, silent as always. His presence still sends a thrill through me, even after 3 days of this, whatever we are now. Welcome, he says, his voice low and smooth. My brothers shrink back slightly. I can't blame them. Marcus cuts an imposing figure. I clear my throat. This is Marcus. He's a friend. The word feels inadequate. But how do I explain what we've been through? Marcus nods at them. You'll be safe here. Come, let me show you to your rooms. As we follow him inside, I can't help but marvel at how different everything is now. The cool stone beneath my feet, the scent of pine and mountain air. It all feels sharper, more vibrant. Is this how Marcus has always experienced the world? Our footsteps echo in the vast hallways. My brothers whisper excitedly to each other, pointing at tapestries and suits of armour. I smile, remembering my own wonder when I first arrived. This wing is yours, Marcus says, gesturing to a series of doors. You'll each have your own room, but they connect if you prefer to stay close. Finn tugs on my sleeve. Alara, can we explore? I glance at Marcus, who nods. Of course. Just don't wander too far yet. We'll give you a proper tour later. As my brothers dash off, squealing with delight, I turn to Marcus. Thank you, I whisper, for all of this. He takes my hand, his touch sending sparks through me. You're family now, Alara. All of you. Gratitude wells up inside me, threatening to spill over. I wrap my arms around Marcus, breathing in his scent. I love you, I whisper against his chest. His arms tighten around me. And I love you, Alara, more than I thought possible. We stand there for a moment, savouring the closeness. Then Marcus pulls back slightly, a mischievous glint in his eye. Your brothers seem occupied. Perhaps we could steal a moment for ourselves. Heat rushes to my cheeks. I'd like that. Marcus takes my hand, leading me down a different hallway. The stone walls give way to rich tapestries and plush carpets. We stop before an ornate wooden door. Our room, he says softly. My heart races as he opens the door. The bedroom is massive, dominated by a 4-poster bed draped in deep crimson silks. A fire crackles in the hearth, casting a warm glow over everything. The rest of this chapter is too spicy for YouTube. It is disappointing, but the level of steam is just not allowed on here, and we must be respectful. However, You can get the uncensored and unabridged audiobook at worldsofprotheka.com. You can even use promo code YouTube30 to get 30% off this book and all other audiobooks. And now back to the story.
Chapter 14. Grime, filth, the stench of decay, how the mighty have fallen. I lie here, discarded like common trash, my once gleaming surface dulled by the muck of the gutter. So close. I was so close to achieving my purpose with that human girl, Alara. Her blood sang with potential. Her spirit burned bright with determination. She could have been the one to carry me to my destined place. But no. The Vraken interfered, as they always do. Short-sighted fools, obsessed with their petty power games. They cannot see the larger picture, the grand design I am part of. Their meddling has set me back once again. I must be cautious now. The Vraken will be searching for me, their greedy fingers itching to claim my power for themselves. Little do they know that I choose my bearer, not the other way around. And I will not suffer their touch again. A rat scurries by, its whiskers twitching as it sniffs at me curiously. I remain inert, conserving my energy. I have waited centuries. I can wait a little longer for the right person to come along. Hours pass. The sun rises and sets, its warmth barely penetrating the layer of grime coating me. Feet shuffle past, always in a hurry, never noticing the treasure lying at their feet. How typical of humans, to be blind to the extraordinary hiding in plain sight. Just as I begin to despair of ever being found, I sense a presence. A young woman approaches, her steps light and purposeful. There's something different about this one, a spark of something. Potential, perhaps? She pauses, bends down. I feel her gaze upon me, curious and wondering. Her fingers brush away the muck, revealing my true luster. A gasp of delight escapes her lips. "Oh, how pretty!" she exclaims, lifting me from the filth. "Yes, my dear, take me with you. Together we shall embark on a journey beyond your wildest dreams."